Good morning, everyone. Good morning. It is Monday morning. Got a fresh week. We are in the building for another day of futures trading. Gonna check all my levels and stuff. All right, everything sounds good. Let's go ahead and get right into it. See what we got going on this week. All right, so far economic calendar. Today we don't have anything scheduled, but tomorrow we have retail sales, and then Fed Chair Powell is speaking at after lunch at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's something we definitely want to be aware of for tomorrow. Then Wednesday we have building permits, crude oil inventory as usual, but then we have a FOMC meeting minutes at 2 p.m. Thursday, we have initial jobless claims and the Philadelphia Fed Manufacturing Index. And then Friday, nothing scheduled. So pretty much it's going to be an interesting Tuesday and Wednesday, but other than that, nothing major sticks out. Of course, they can use anything that they want to bring some volatility into the market. So you just need to be aware of it. Our power range report, we got a high of 15,123. with a low of 15,105. Sentiment is short, down 0.31% with a volume of 62K and an ATR of 155.31. Looking at the chart, you can see we're hovering around all-time highs on a daily. Very low energy, but there is some pullback in the pre-market, as we can see. Friday we kind of peaked into all-time highs, didn't really spend any serious time up there, and now we're getting some retracement back to support that was created on Friday. Traded all the way back down to PR -3. We got a pivot, some structure from Friday's price action, and also that was created the day before, that we are finding support on once again in today's pre-market. So right now we don't have any, I'm not really calling this, we are in the bear zone, but I'm not calling this, any significant sell-off, because right now we're kind of just got a little bit of retracement for NQ. Let's go ahead and look at the rest of the markets. Pretty much the same thing across the board. Nothing really significant sticks out with the other index futures, with the exception of YM, where YM finally broke out of its zone last week. Traded into all-time highs, but very kind of weak. So across the board, we don't have a lot of inventory that's going to strongly push us up, or to give us continuation into all-time highs. But we could have a situation like looking at ES, where it was really weak, and then finally we had some volatility come into the market. It was a strong push higher before we started it to really get some action going in here within this time period here. So we'll see how this all plays out. Of course, we just stick to our strategies and make sure we're staying aware of self first and then the markets, and just stay consistent to the strategy. So looking at CL and GC and E6, same thing with those. Nothing really significant sticks out with either. They're all trading in the bear zone, neutral on the daily. Yeah, so nothing like huge to look at from a technical perspective so far today. We'll see how today plays out. Range average volume. Just a normal Monday morning. Let me make sure I go through my checklist, make sure I'm good to go. Only goal is to trade the strategy to perfection. Always see the big picture and pull the trigger. daily reminders. Oh, also, Leeloo is, I didn't really read into the email that I got from Leeloo, but they're supposed to be having a sale. I don't know how long the sale lasts, but they're supposed to be having sales up to 50% off. So, that's something to check out. There's a link in the description, or you can just Google it. Let's see, I did that. Make sure I'm recording this. Have the recording back up. Get everything set up and ready to go. Got about 7 minutes to the bell. Readjust my charts. I was playing around with stuff over the weekend. Have a nice little study session. One thing I found really helpful to do with my daily checklist is I got screenshots of my signals and triggers to give myself a daily reminder of what I'm looking for. Every little bit helps. Try to set it up to where I'm just operating off muscle memory when it's time to actually start trading. Easily be able to see my setups, make it as easy as possible to do what it is that I do. We got a balance level. What is this? It's in the same place. It's right in line with PR -1. Also, we have VWAP in that same location, but there's a lot of noise if we look at the volume. So we got a big volume profile range of, just call it 115 till about 164. And of course, these levels, I'm looking at them as ranges, not necessarily as specific prices. Also got a VPOC up here around 108. Just getting a lay of the land, but we are seeing some response here off our volume profile at 85.25. Go ahead and just gonna run the playlist this morning. I need to finish my core project so I can add to my playlist. Got about 3 minutes. Let me go ahead and get my pre-market snapshot. So I want to start putting all my charts and like my notes and stuff together in more of a like a central location, so I can do something with that. I got an idea to do with that. Yeah, like a little Hindsight Capital book or something. Good study material. Right now, the thing that I'm working on is a book. Another ebook, Day Trading Essentials. That one should be coming out soon. Be on the lookout for that. And we need to be on the lookout in the next 30 seconds for our open. We're still getting that response off that mechanical response. Right, let's see how this thing opens in the next few seconds. Typical back and forth at the open. There we go. Finally got some, our buyers finally got some energy to push prices higher. Finally started to take over. Bringing in some momentum. Push us right through VWAP. Let's see if we can hold that. So I gotta give myself a reminder to not forget about getting my multiple account practice in. So even though we're like really in the bear zone, I'm still seeing the overall price action from my personal perspective as being bullish. As I mentioned pre-market, I see this as being more of some retracement. Kind of our typical pre-market accumulation. The range, if we if we're open up our perspective, the range is not that big. But following my strategy, I have to look for shorts until I get my signal to go long. It's gotta be clean. Got a very weak signal there, which I'm going to pass on. Of course, definitely could be wrong. Our BPOC did adjust to 15,100 flat. There's a lot of noise in this area, but we are getting the sellers did pile in there. Got some bulls caught, some buyers trapped long. And then our buyer step right back in there. And right back up we go. Also keeping in mind, this is a really small range that we're trading in. If I adjust the perspective a little bit. Relative to what we've been seeing throughout the year. So our choppy price action continues. Okay, I'm feeling this. Where is my audition? So far, I'm not really seeing anything within this range that we're trading in that'll give me a clean signal as I would like. I did well. There's a kind of another signal there. Short. What we do, and it's not really that strong. So I'm gonna be patient and just let it wait on the signal that I want, or wait on the setup that I want. Wait for this market to look the way that I want it to look. Don't have to force a trade today. So I'm not really narrating because I see this looking at the volume structure and everything. This price action, all this up and down action, this back and forth, it makes sense. And so we are getting to the top of the structure, kind of the high of the range that I mentioned pre-market and before the open. See if our buyers got enough to take us up there. Or do we want to get some more off the VWAP? Just our wholesale moving price back and forth. Alright, let's just say our wholesale giving the market makers prices to move the market back and forth. Not really seeing a big hand in this market as of yet. So the way that that's painted, we should get a break higher. However, with this price action, I'm not necessarily a believer in the breakouts. Of course, I could be wrong. So we're just gonna watch it. But I'm not taking any breakouts. That's not the strategy that I'm trading right now anyway. So I got another signal there, but it's not clean. It's not as clean as it's better than the one that I got before. But it's kind of a weak signal. Could be trading back down. So we got a little channel that's forming here. You can see it clear on the 1 minute. So, you know. Alright, so our buyers are stepping right back in there. That is a decent signal for some selling for a short. But all these signals that I'm seeing them as being weak. So I'm not taking any of them. It's because it's so noisy in here and they're not setting up the way that I would want them to set up to make them, from my my personal opinion, worthwhile taking. Also, we look at the delta. We have a lot of positive delta. So, like, the way I'm really looking at this is, I don't really like to stick to labels like that, but I'm not crazy about labels. Saying this is wholesale, this is market makers, this is retail, this is institutions, all that stuff. But the typical price action that we are used to seeing from wholesale, to me, this looks more like wholesale price action, where we're just, setting up shop, collecting inventory, getting rid of some supply. It's a regular day a regular day at the store. I'm not saying it's the way that I'm thinking about it, but yeah. Right. Struggling to find the words to express the ideas that I have. And just to kind of dig into this a little deeper, when I say that the signal is weak, so when I look for a potential trade to take, I'm definitely looking at the risk, right? That's something I can see quickly at a glance. Like, I'm already thinking about the risk before the signal even comes. I'm already looking. So the way that I do it is I look at different levels to where we're likely to see a response from either buyers or sellers. And then once we get to that level, I already kind of have an idea of what the risk could be. But I'm also looking at where could price potentially go if I take that trade. So I'm looking at both sides of the market. If I was to take a short there, now below that price, I'm looking at where is it likely for our buyers to be sitting, or for buy orders to be sitting. And if it's too close, and that, to me, I see that as a weak signal. I'm not getting a good risk to reward, even though, of course, I could be wrong. I don't have a crystal ball to tell me exactly what's going to happen. But this is just the way that I'm reading it. So when where we're trading price back and forth in these tight ranges, I don't be so quick to jump into a trade. Most of the time, when I go back and just look at it in hindsight, the trades that I pass up at best end up being, scalpers, which I'm not that crazy to take a whole lot of scalps. I'm not a big scalp taker. I'm just taking just a couple points here and there. For me, I prefer to be in a position for I prefer to take like 1 or 2 positions a day. And for those to kind of hold them for a while. I don't want to hold them for a long period of time. Of course, I'm holding it within my window, but I like to have a little room for my entry and hit my targets. So this one is playing out. It looks like if I would have taken the trade that I saw there, more than likely that would have resulted in a scalp, even though we are very choppily, if that's a word, making our way lower back into support. There's a lot of support that we are actually fighting through. So we had support right there at 93-ish. This is what I mean by a lot of noise. There's a lot of support within here. So we can say 93. You can also say 87, then 85, 81 and a half. This is a lot to fight through on both sides within this, structurally within the range that we're trading in. We are slowly making our way lower. So we did get a nice response to the volume. Our volume profile about a tick away from where I had an order on over here. Just the issue with this method of entering a trade. There's a lot of times where my orders are front ran. It's hard to get a good entry position. So I'm just going to look at 65 as being the key support. Also, we got our session low down here at 60. They are front running it. So 65 to 60 is the range that I'm looking at for key support. Let's see if we can make it down there, and if we do, what is the response that we get? Caught the short at 100, but scalped out 100 and a half. That's not bad. That's kind of the same area that I was looking at, that I got my signal. And that was a tough range to trade. Of course, it all depends on what the strategy looks like. But so now we're within our floor. Let's see if we get a push lower. So this should, the way that printed, this should be a potential momentum play short. Let's see what kind of response we get from our buyers. Of course, as I say that, gotta also put that disclaimer in there that I'm not saying take a momentum play short. I'm not taking it myself just because it's not within my plan. I'm gonna stick to my plan. There's the break lower. Getting plenty of energy to keep us trading lower. But our buyers are definitely, so there's some of this buying, of course, is, potential short shorts, trying to take the break lower or adding to positions. Also, this can be some covering from shorts that got up at these higher prices, or buyers trying to buy the dip. That's the further. I said that backwards. Let me say that again. This break lower, or the buying that we're seeing here, could be some buyers trying to buy the dip, but it could also be some covering from our shorts that that got into a position at these higher prices. So that was short-lived. Now we're back. Now we're to our balance level near 1540. Also near our PR with a -4. That's why I can't see the exact balance level price, because I got a power range level there. Seeing that once again, seeing a response from buyers. So I'm going to be looking at the support that we broke from. Let's see if we can get pulled back to that level and to see what kind of response we get there. We got plenty of supply. That gives me some sort of a Hindsight Capital when I'm looking at this. Normally I usually screenshot this and put it in the journal, but I'm just gonna speak on this one, because when we were trading up here, I didn't mention it, but something that I was looking at was how we were responding to the VWAP, and I could tell that they were not really, whatever strategy that they're running this morning doesn't really care about the VWAP. So the VWAP wasn't really in play this morning, even though we kind of did get a retest response to it, and there was a slight response to it. So of course there's always going to be somebody playing these indicators, but one of the reasons why I don't put a whole lot of weight into these indicators versus price and volume, price and volume is always the primary things that I'm looking at, but one reason why I don't put a lot of weight into these indicators is because sometimes it can be misleading, and if you look at the indicators too strong, as you need the indicator to make trading decisions. I'm not saying that you can't make a strategy, you can't develop a strategy off of the indicators. You absolutely can. Overall, it's about consistency. But for me personally, the way that I look at them more as trade management things to look at. So if I'm already in a trade, or if I'm looking to take a trade, what is it going to mean for me trying to manage it once I see the indicator, what kind of response I can get at that indicator, the possible response that I can get at that indicator, if that makes sense. So with the VWAP, I didn't see a lot of response, mechanically to the VWAP, and I was just watching it. But at the same time, I didn't want to trade against it because there was a little bit of response to it. And they were not, really, you can see in hindsight that they really didn't care overall about the VWAP or any of these other indicators this morning. This is really structure that they're running their strategy off of, whether that's an algo or they are manually doing it. Most of these indicators are really good for algorithms. And I'm just brain dumping while I'm waiting for price to get back to the first level I'm looking at is 50 3/4. So that gives me a range between that and the previous support in that 60 range. Also in Hindsight Capital, if I wasn't have taken that signal that I got up there, I would have played it tight with a tight stop loss, because it should have worked out the way for it. If for it to work, it would have, it had to work out the way that it actually did work out. But just the way that I'm looking at it, I'm gonna go back and test that out later to see how that would have happened. Just to good practice time, get a good practice session in, and all that good stuff. So I'm gonna stop talking for a minute and let me watch this price action. We are starting to get some pullback on the 1 minute. Getting a response. I'm seeing a response off of 41.5, which is my balance level. Okay, I just learned something new about my layout. I can see my balance level prices clearly on the 1 minute chart, but not on my 3 minute chart. I wonder why that is. Very, very interesting. So the way that printed, we should get some more selling coming in. Or we could be held in a range if we are pretty extended short, so I would definitely not be looking forward to take a new short position down here. To me, the way they printed that, the way they painted that picture, and I hate using the word trap too much, but to trap some new sellers jumping into the market there. Still are painting this for a break lower. But this gives a good location for our buyers to take some loans here. So we are seeing our buyers step in. longer that they move price back and forth in this range, the more it strengthens since the momentum is somewhat short. I put it this way, the more it strengthens, the longer we hanging around this range, the more it strengthens the potential to break in either direction. Looking at this, we got sellers that are coming in here at 1541. Also, we have buyers. So if they hold the position for too long, once it breaks out of this range, they could get squeezed. And so if we break high, our sellers could get squeezed. And if we break lower, of course, the buyers, their stops could be triggered. And we'll have some new shorts coming in there taking a break. It also means the longer we hang out in this range, the stronger our signals become. Looking at a volume profile, we are building a strong value area within this range. This is too extended for me, but it's the way that they're painting this, by what's taught mostly for retail trading, they are painting this to break lower. They are painting the picture for us to keep selling off. And for me personally, I need more of a pullback. Actually, I can go ahead and remove this. Just looking at the time, more than likely it's going to end up in a no trade day. The position that I needed to take was up here. I missed that by a tick. So here's a potential break lower. There's the break. All things are lining up for continuation, but we shall see. See what kind of follow through we get. Do they allow our shorts to eat? Or are they going to try to eat off the shorts? Like we're getting follow through. So I'm just looking at this kind of, from a Hindsight Capital perspective to see the way that this played out versus how I was reading it in the moment. And, just kind of do a self-awareness check. And just based off the way that I have everything set up, I think my self-awareness was on point, and all of that stuff was on point. I was just outplayed this morning if I'm going to look at it from a competitive standpoint. It's the way that it printed wasn't, they didn't, or the price wasn't, this played out in a way that wasn't best for my strategy, my plan, or my setup. What's the word? For my strategy. That's the right way to say it. So basically that's the main takeaway that I got, that I was just outplayed this morning. And that happens. So there was a couple places that I could have taken it, but it would have taken trades, but it would have caused for me to call an audible outside of the way that I normally trade. And just from personal experience, you do that too often, and a lot of times it ends up going against you. So from what I've learned from watching other traders and my own personal experiences, it's best to just stay consistent. You're gonna miss days where you're gonna miss good plays. Sometimes it's not always, of course, this is an environment that it's not gonna always play out the same. There's a lot of variables in here, and it's just gonna be days that you're gonna miss really good moves, so you can't stress out about it. The thing that you gotta just be aware of is, why did you miss the move? Did you miss the move because you just was outplayed by the market that day, or was it because you didn't have the appropriate self-awareness, or was it something from that you had control over? See, I don't have control over how this prints, but I do have control over how I respond to the way that it prints. So as long as the reason why I missed the move was based off of something outside of my control, that's okay. That's fine. That's a good place to be. But if I missed the move because of something that I can control, i.e., I got a good trigger that I didn't take because I was fearful, or I read it wrong, or whatever, that's something that lets me know that there's something I need to work on, or whatever. But if I missed a move or I missed a trade because of price was moved in a way that that I wasn't used to seeing, or it was moved kind of against my, they traded the way that price was printed was against my strategy, those things that are outside of my control, and I maintained the awareness and I did everything I was supposed to do on my end, then that's still a good day. No trades also equals capital preservation, as long as you follow your plan and your strategy. So there's some things that I look at in terms of hindsight, from a Hindsight Capital perspective, to review to see what my response was, if I traded correctly, if I didn't, all of that good stuff. And they continue to chop this price lower. Also, I would like to see the kind of sell-off I like to see is stronger than this. I don't like the choppy sell-off. So if this was flipped and this was bullish, then this would be, good price action. But for me, looking at it from a short perspective, usually we get our selling that happens quick. Now in hindsight, of course, this looks like this is really quick sell-off, but watching this in the moment, it chopped this way down here. Even on these strong candles were choppy, right in there. This took a while for this it closed like it, was a strong selling. But me watching this counter, I can specifically remember this one. This one I was watching, I wasn't talking. It chopped its way down there, even though it closed full with a full body. There's no wicks in it. So it looks like this is a strong sell-off in hindsight, but in reality, in the moment, it wasn't. It was choppy. come on Hindsight Capital so we can see that, like I mentioned before, when we were trading in this zone right here, I was saying the longest that we spent within this range that strengthens the ability to break in either direction. And of course, my bias at this time was with the momentum or with the trend. This trend is clearly short, so once we finally did get it, we did get follow through. And you know, it did, you know, if I was looking to take a trade down here, it would have worked out slowly but surely. So with all that being said, you know, I gave a few Hindsight Capitals there without, you know, doing the whole, like usually I do those and I just take a screenshot and put them in a journal. But he was spoken Hindsight Capitals. Well, with all that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up for the day in my session as a no trade session. Hope y'all are having a good trading session today and for the rest of the day. And let me get my outro set up. Hope you have a good rest of the day, and I'll see y'all on the next one. Trade it easy.